This is Happily Holistic, where we dive deeply into everything health and wellness with a big dash of spirituality and a sprinkle of business. We spotlight the uplifting and the positive and share the secret ways top wellness authors and celebrities get inspired, stay healthy, and enjoy this beautiful life. I'm your host, Amy Leigh Mercree, best-selling author of 15 books and holistic health expert for the last 19 years. I can't wait to get happily holistic with you today. Hello! I am so excited to welcome you back to Happily Holistic. And I'm especially excited today because I have my good friend, who's also an amazing author, Amy B Scher, here with us today. Hi, Amy.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. This is going to be so much fun.
Yay! I'm excited. I love to talk to my author friends. Amy and I are in a mastermind author group together too, so we are always like putting our heads together. So it's good stuff. So Amy has so many amazing things. So many amazing things going on. She's a best-selling author of How to Heal Yourself When No One Else Can, and 2 other books about healing and being a human. She's an expert in mind-body healing. She's often lovingly referred to as an accidental guru. That's fun.
It is fun.
Yeah. Of course, she's been featured all over the place. CNN, CBS, Washington Post, Cosmo, The Rumpus, Los Angeles Review of Books, and many more. She's everywhere. Her books have been translated into 13 languages and endorsed by notable authors such as Elizabeth Gilbert, Vikas Swarup, who wrote Slumdog Millionaire. Interesting.
Yes.
And Sanjeev Chopra, who wrote Brotherhood with Deepak Chopra. Amy lives in New York City with her beautiful wife and bad cat. She lives by her self-created motto, when life kicks your ass, kick back. I like that. You can find her at her website, amybscher.com, and her Instagram, Amy B Scher. I love her Instagram. I follow it all the time. And one of the things I love about Amy is every month she offers really awesome, affordable energy therapy online classes. So it's a great way to work with her. And I'm very excited that I get to know that she is working on her book that comes out very soon, How to Heal Yourself from Depression When No One Else Can. That's really amazing too. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yay. You have so much wonderful insight and so many amazing topics and areas where you've helped so many people. So I'd love to ask you, if you had to pick one that felt the most fulfilling for you as a helper, what would it be?
That's hard. But I think luckily I teach sort of just one thing, which is what good can come from, and all the good that can come from being who you really are.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my huge lesson in my own life through chronic illness, anxiety, depression, all kinds of unlovely things, that when we really tune into and become who we really are, when we let go of the fear, when we let go about the worry about what other people think and how other people feel, and of course we should be good, respectable human beings, but when we allow ourselves to really become ourselves is when all the good things happen, like healing and happiness. So that is the foundation of what I teach, whether I'm working with people on depression or anxiety or chronic health issues. It's all about getting back to who you really are. And from there, I feel like everything energetically and in life flows so much better.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I'm sure as a helper, I know because we're both in healing and helping professions, it's really, I always say, I just open the door and they walk through. And I would imagine it's the same for you, isn't it?
It's the same. And I think that a lot of people need to know that somebody else has done it or
Yeah.
need the guidance
Yeah.
of, I always say healing is simple. It's about letting go of what no longer serves you and allowing your body to come back into balance. But I know I was one of those people that was running around trying to find the cure and fix this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing.
Yes.
And so sometimes what people really need is that door opened to say, relax, it's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with where we are. Let's keep it simple. Let's
Mm-hmm.
go, let's turn inward. Let's see what we can do here and just offer another path. Because when you're on one path and you've been doing that, going on that road for a long time, excuse me, it can be hard to see that there are other, maybe better options.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I would imagine with the people you work with chronic illness, there's so many layers and so many different messages from every, different level of the medical, the alternative health, the mental health side of things, all with these really valid messages. But I think people get pretty overwhelmed with A, where do I start? And B, if there's conflicting information, what do I do? Right?
Yes. And it can be hard to, when you're in a place where you don't feel good, it can be so hard to figure out what you really believe and what you really trust. And there's a tendency when something's not working, a medical treatment or an alternative treatment or anything, to try harder, work harder.
Yes.
Push harder. And sometimes it's just because you're not in alignment with that, or you need to pivot in a different direction, or you need to take a break. You need to lighten up on yourself. There are so many things that we can do that are healthier than just push, try, which is stressful and doesn't always work.
Mm-hmm.
We'd all be able to heal ourselves immediately if all it was about was trying hard, right? Because we know that most people who are struggling with chronic illness, depression, and anxiety are trying, but
they are.
Sometimes that in and of itself, that energy of pushing and forcing and trying can be accidentally counterproductive.
Absolutely. And I think we get the message from society, the go, produce, try, push, take action, which I love taking action.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but when I wrote Little Bit of Goddess, part of what that was about was looking at how from a more, like if we went in a really gender normative direction, the masculine is action, and that is that push, and it's the competitive aspects of society. It's all that. And the feminine is the receptive. It's aligning and being and allowing it to come. And there's also community and collaboration there, but our society is geared toward the push.
Yeah. And there's room for both.
I think we need both.
Yeah. There's room for taking action and then also allowing yourself, I call it a percolation period, when things are brewing and stewing, and that sort of during that period is when you are getting ready to take inspired action versus forced action. Yes. And I'll tell you, sometimes I get an idea to just email a specific person or pitch a specific article, or I have an idea for a book or whatever. And when it comes in that way, it always turns out well. But when it comes in, I have to do this, it doesn't usually turn out so well. So it's kind of learning that difference and how it feels to your body too.
Definitely. And I agree with that. And in everything in life.
Yeah.
Even you hear of people who are like, okay, I've made a list and I'm going to find my spouse in this year, and now I'm taking the steps. Maybe that work, and it might work. But then you also hear, I worked on myself, and then I just kicked back and relaxed and enjoyed my life, and then it arrived. So
yeah, that's how it went for me. So I can
me too. That. Me too, actually. And I think for me, this time it was like I wasn't expecting it. Right. I was just like in my own world. So you just never know.
And I think that goes back to sort of first point I was making, when you become who you really are and you
Yes.
sort of settle into that, everything in life just works better. I'm not one of
Yes.
these people who believes, if you write something down 5 million times and you intend for it, it has to come true immediately. I'm not, not like that, but just in a way of when you live to your fullest potential, not of things you can do, but of who you are and your own well-being and happiness, you do gravitate toward healthier, better, more positive, exciting things in your life. That's just what happens.
I
And
agree with that
we
fully.
overcomplicate it sometimes. All the time.
I think we all do.
Yeah, we're
We
human
all
that
do.
way. Another thing to accept and just be with.
I know. I think that does come back to that, right? It's like self-acceptance and acceptance of what's happening. I always, from my guidance, always they always tell me basically like resistance is what causes suffering.
Totally.
Which can be hard
Totally
to
believe that.
follow if you if you were ill and you don't want to be ill, or if you would like a certain situation to be a certain way and it's not. I mean, it can be hard to sit with that.
Yes. It's interesting though, because in my How to Heal Yourself approach and books, the number one thing that I ask people to do is to surrender to where they really are before they try to fix anything. Because that resistance piece, when you're in a fight with your own body, it's not very easy to heal. So if you can give up the fighting and the resistance to where you are just temporarily,
Yes.
which doesn't mean you like it, but it just means you can say, I right now am right here, whether I like it or not. If you can accept that as truth and surrender to it just in this moment, that doesn't mean you won't be somewhere else tomorrow or next month.
Right.
But if you can surrender instead of fight with all the energy you have, what happens is you are able to use that energy you've been using to resist where you are, which isn't going to work, to heal. And it's so much, that energy is so much better put to use for that purpose.
That's a really beautiful way to describe that and to share that. And I feel like we're just having a chat, yada yada, but that's like a very important jewel of information here.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, I know how it is. Like I had chronic Lyme disease for basically a decade. And for the better part of the decade, I was hating where I was. I was frustrated. I was mad. I was miserable. And guess what? None of that got me out of where I was going. I hated that I was there. I didn't like, or where I was. I hated all of that. And I expended so much energy resisting my current reality, which was that I was sick and bedbound.
Right.
And it was once I started the process of saying, okay, so instead of trying constantly to get out of bed every single day when it's not working, what if just temporarily I can be okay bedbound? Like, what would happen?
Yeah.
What would happen if my reality was just nothing more than my reality for now? And I stopped judging it, and I stopped spending every ounce of energy trying to not make it so. And that made the most massive difference for me. And it's important to not fight current reality, because
Absolutely.
it doesn't help you get anywhere faster. In fact, it slows things down so much.
Yes. So after you had that realization, you kind of surrendered into, all right, well, right now, today anyways, I am, bedbound. How did the shifting happen? Was it subtle, or how did you?
It was definitely subtle, but from that place, I was actually able to do more, to take small steps that meant more toward my healing. So I tell people, my clients who suffer with depression, instead of being in bed and thinking, I can't get out of bed, I feel like I want to die, instead of making the goal for yourself to get out of bed, take a shower, get dressed, walk around the block and do all your errands, why don't you try to sit up in the living room for 5 minutes? Like, why don't you just accept that today you might not do all those lofty things that you want to feel miserable, and can we just get you into another room, even if you don't change your clothes?
Yes.
And when you accept temporarily where you are, what it allows you to do is sort of get out of fight, flight, or freeze enough to make I call them micro movements, but really they're baby steps.
Yeah.
And when we take a baby step, it's easier to take the next little baby step and the next step and the next
Yes.
step. And so that's what I feel like I was able to do. And I also felt like when I surrendered to where I was and took some of the pressure off of myself, I actually was able to find more solutions to help myself.
I bet.
Because again, instead of I have to get out of bed and get back to work next week, all I was thinking of was trying to find a small solution to not be nauseous while I ate today. And it's
Yeah.
easier to find little solutions than
Yeah.
a massive cure. So I just feel like that's such an important step no matter what you're struggling with, whether it's chronic illness or depression or
Yeah.
career struggle, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Slow down, take a deep breath, and then take the tiniest baby steps you can. It makes such a difference.
And taking that pressure off yourself.
Oh my gosh, the pressure is enough to
We're
like,
hard on ourselves. We all are.
right? And I tell my clients like, that doesn't even, does that even work? Like,
No, it
like,
doesn't work.
I mean, I'm a Virgo and a
Me
perfectionist.
too, as you know. Yes.
Right. Yes, we're very similar. But like in the history of my life, it's never worked to put pressure on myself. Like
It doesn't.
right. It's not even that it's a life of misery to do that. It's that it's
No.
not even effective. And if there's anything that gets a Virgo's attention, it's like efficiency. So I can see it
Yes.
from that point of view. I'm like, well, this doesn't even work, so I can let it go. But
Never
yeah,
mind that.
the
Mhm.
pressure is so hard on your body, so hard on your immune system, and it doesn't work. And so part of my
Right.
process of healing was just letting it go.
It almost makes me wonder if you were just kind of like, among everything else that probably went on, you probably lowered your cortisol like a ton.
Oh my gosh.
You know, even that, it's anti-inflammatory to do that.
Yes, so good for your nervous system,
Yeah.
immune system. I mean, I see that kind of pressure and self-criticism as bricks sitting on your body, and you can't get very far like that. And so, yeah,
Yes.
definitely feel like that taking that pressure off was a huge part of my healing.
Mhm.
And a little bit of like, oh, really? Like all the things I tried. And that was something I was in total control of and could have done so much earlier, but live
Yes.
and learn.
You didn't know, and perhaps it wasn't the right time because you had the experience you had, and now you've helped all these other people with it.
Yes, for sure.
You know, I mean, I was on the phone with a friend this morning, and we were talking about some things, and she was kind of asking me about some medical intuitive things that were general, and so we were talking about all that, and I had some answers, like I've seen this, and this with people, etc. And at the end, I said, even with all that, those decisive statements, I still have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, we don't know.
We don't.
We may have pieces, but when will we see the whole picture? Perhaps after we leave this incarnation.
Yes. And it doesn't really matter. We spend
No, it
so
doesn't
much
matter.
time trying to figure everything out. But even if you have it figured out, it doesn't necessarily provide any benefit to you.
I don't think it does. And I think that goes back to neither does resistance.
Yes.
That's, gosh, my guidance, I've been getting a lot of that lately. Resistance has no productive
Yep.
quality. There's not really much you're going to get out of it. So
No.
maybe not. And I think, and resistance is a form of, I have to do this. I have to do this. And then there's a form of resistance in that when there's too much pushing.
Right.
And so when we remove that, it can be really wonderful. And
right.
I love how you've talked about surrendering too, because over the years working with people as a medical intuitive and, different things, people always kind of want to know, they want to get to forgiveness a lot when there's trauma and things like that. And how do we get to forgiveness? You cannot force it.
Yes, I agree.
But what seems to sometimes precede it is surrender. What I've seen over the years.
Because surrender is the energy of allowing. Resistance is the energy of blocking. So if you surrender, you're allowing the thing that you wanted to come. If you're resisting, you're blocking it from coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's all
Easier said than done though, right?
I know. Well, it's hard, and it applies to every facet of life.
Yes.
You know, especially in you know, a society that's generally very fast paced and all about driving and more and more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
And I think we're all learning this year about maybe the benefits of living with less as well.
Yes.
You know, we're simplifying some things, and we're finding perhaps what's important to everybody individually is being highlighted.
Yes, absolutely. And it's good to tune into figuring out what's important for you and how you want to move forward versus what the sort of norm is.
Yes. Definitely. All kinds of good stuff.
I know. Life is so interesting. It really keeps
Life
us
is very interesting. It's always very interesting. I always feel so you know, privileged and lucky to live life and get to have the experiences I have, but also, and I'm sure for you, like as a helping professional, to hear people's stories for 19 years, it's just been so beautiful to see the wide span, the myriad conditions, types of people, changes. No one person seems to be the same in my profession. I'm sure it's similar for you.
Yep, same for me, which is why I always tell clients to stop chasing everybody else's cure.
Yes.
I'm like, trust me, if there's a cure-all for everybody, for anything, you will not be able to miss it, even if you're not on the message boards, even if you're not on Facebook all day, like you will hear about it. But we get so invested in chasing everybody else's cures that, you know, we sometimes miss out. We don't miss out, but we're delayed in finding our own, which is why my work is all about working with yourself, healing yourself. I mean, not that it's not important or essential to partner with doctors or practitioners. It's not saying that. It's just do your part and tune into you, because as you teach as well, we have so much wisdom inside of us already.
Our bodies can be self-healing and self-correcting. Absolutely.
Yes. And we can miss it if we're externally searching all the time.
So true. So true. So I have a question I ask everybody at the end of the interview. What would you tell one thing would you tell your 16-year-old self if you could sort of send a message back in time? What would it be?
That's a good one. Okay, so I already know it, and it kind of links into my self-created motto, which is when life kicks your ass, kick back. So when I first created that motto, it was when life kicks your ass, kick back, as in fight back, you can survive. And over the years, I hyphenated kick back to be kick back and relax. Because that became more of my motto. So what I would go back and tell my teenage self is definitely relax. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I mean okay in the sense of not that everything's going to turn out perfectly okay, but that it's going to be okay even when it's not okay. And I wish that as a teen, I just knew that it was okay to relax, which means not control everything, not worry so much about what was going to happen. And I think that's such a huge piece, that relaxing is such a huge piece of physical and emotional healing. And it's not easy because it's often in direct contrast with what we've been doing our whole lives, but it is, for me, the most important thing to do.
I love that. I think that message is good for us at every age, well, at least like 16 and up, let's say, you know.
But when you're 16, when you're that age, you think everything is like the end of the world, right?
Life is a grand drama.
Yes,
boy, oh boy.
It really is.
Because it feels like it, because it's new.
It feels like it. But it is all going to be okay. I mean, I've struggled with so many things, and I'm still okay. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Most of the things I worried about didn't happen. A few did, and I'm still okay. So that's
the perfect way to say it. Yes. I love that. What a fun answer. I love hearing those.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I feel relaxed after our talk.
Yay, I'm so glad.
I do. I wonder if our listeners do. They'll have to comment and tell us.
I think that they will. I hope we're sending those relaxing vibes out to them.
I hope so, and I think we might be, because I feel very relaxed after our chat. So thank you so much for being here, Amy. It's always so wonderful to talk to you.
Thanks, Amy.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Happily Holistic with me, Amy Leigh Mercree. You can find out more about the show on amyleighmercree.com on the podcast page. Please stop by your favorite social platform and leave me a comment. I'd love to hear how you liked today's show and what topics you'd like me to cover in the future. Come find me on Instagram and Facebook at Amy Leigh Mercree. Until next time, stay happily holistic.